That's right. The controversy surrounding the Argentine national team and the World Cup final has taken another dramatic turn, with renewed attention being placed on the formal complaint reportedly submitted over the events of the match. The central question is now becoming impossible to ignore. What could happen if the allegations presented by Argentina are formally reviewed? And what would the consequences be if additional evidence were ultimately accepted by the relevant authorities? According to the claims being discussed, Argentina has been preparing a detailed case concerning incidents that occurred during the World Cup final involving Spain. The complaint reportedly focuses on several controversial moments from the match, including decisions made by the referee, the VAR team, and other circumstances that Argentina believes deserve further examination. But there is an important distinction that needs to be made. At this stage, the allegations should not be treated as proof that the match was manipulated, nor should they be presented as confirmation that FIFA or the Court of Arbitration for Sport has already determined that wrongdoing took place. Those conclusions would require official findings and verified documentation. What has attracted so much attention, however, is the possibility that additional material could be submitted or reviewed as part of the complaint. If new evidence were formally accepted and shown to be relevant, it could potentially change the direction of the investigation and raise further questions about what happened during the final. That is precisely why supporters are closely following every development surrounding the case. Argentina's position, as described in the complaint, is based on specific incidents that the team believes were significant enough to warrant further review. These include disputed refereeing decisions and other moments that have generated debate among fans and football observers. And this is where the story becomes particularly interesting. If FIFA or CAS were to determine that serious irregularities actually occurred, the authorities would then have to consider what remedies, if any, would be appropriate under the applicable regulations. Depending on the findings and the governing rules, possible outcomes in a dispute could range from rejecting the complaint entirely to ordering further proceedings or taking another measure considered appropriate by the competent authority. But that does not automatically mean that Argentina will replay the final. It also does not mean that Spain has already lost the World Cup, that Argentina has already been declared champion, or that FIFA has secretly decided to award the trophy to Argentina. Those are conclusions that cannot responsibly be made without an official ruling. And that is perhaps the most important point in this entire story. A complaint is not the same thing as a final decision. Evidence being submitted is not the same thing as evidence being officially accepted, and an investigation does not automatically establish that wrongdoing occurred. Everything ultimately depends on what the relevant authorities determine after reviewing the available information. For Argentine supporters, however, the possibility of additional evidence is naturally significant. If the material is genuine, relevant, and strong enough to influence the case, it could make the complaint considerably more important than it initially appeared. For Spain, the situation would obviously be very different. Any formal finding of serious irregularities could potentially lead to further questions about the final and the circumstances surrounding it. And for the World Cup itself, the consequences would depend entirely on the official findings and the regulations applicable to the case. That is why it is too early to say that Argentina will definitely replay the final. It is also too early to say that Argentina will become world champions through a ruling. And it would be equally premature to claim that Spain's title has already been taken away. None of those outcomes should be presented as confirmed unless FIFA, CAS, or another competent authority formally announces them. What we can say is that the controversy has generated enormous attention because of the seriousness of the allegations and the potential implications if any of the key claims were eventually substantiated. The next official document could therefore be extremely important. It could clarify whether the complaint has sufficient grounds to continue, whether additional evidence has been accepted for consideration, whether further investigation is required, or whether the case will ultimately be dismissed. Until that official information arrives, the responsible approach is to separate what has been alleged from what has actually been established. And that distinction matters. Football history has seen plenty of controversial matches, disputed refereeing decisions, and complaints from national teams. But changing the result of a major international final would be an extraordinary step and would require an extremely serious and properly established basis. So, for now, the biggest question remains unanswered. Will the Argentine complaint lead to any official action, or will the existing result of the World Cup final remain unchanged? That is what football fans around the world will be watching. If new evidence is formally confirmed and the authorities determine that it has a meaningful impact on the case, the situation could become even more significant. But until then, we have to wait for the official word. So what do you think? Do you believe the allegations surrounding the World Cup final deserve a full investigation? And if an investigation were to uncover serious irregularities, what would you consider the fairest possible outcome? Let me know your opinion in the comments. For now, all we can do is wait for verified information and the official decisions from the relevant authorities. This story is far from simple, and the next announcement could determine where the case goes from here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video for another update on Argentina, Spain, and one of the most controversial World Cup stories being discussed by football fans.